have a business where your team loves you, loves your brand, loves what they're doing so much that not only do they keep the boat afloat, but they get speed.
And she said, in order to be successful, you have to do only the things that make the cash register ring.
Congratulations. You've had such a successful journey. I have one more question that I want to ask you before we wrap this up. Welcome to She Means Millions. You're sitting down with me today, Briana Dai, and I am sitting down with the incredible Jameela Allen. Jameela has an incredible story going from zero to millions and built a multi-million-dollar childcare learning center called Themba Childcare Creativity and Learning.
Themba Creative Learning Center.
Creative Learning Center.
Yes.
And is the CEO and founder of Jameela Allen Incorporated.
Yes.
And so you have an incredible story. Take me back to the beginning.
Yes. Thank you, Briana, for that introduction. Yes, I am the owner of Themba Creative Learning Center, and it's been 18 years. And as I sit here and think about my journey, it actually started as a 17-year-old freshman in college. I worked at the Childcare Center on campus, and that's when my vision started because of that experience. I always wanted to own my center, and it happened literally 18 years later.
Wow.
Yes.
So you had the vision, but you didn't have the courage to make it happen yet. What was holding you back? What beliefs were you dealing with that prevented you from acting on your dream back then?
Fear. For 18 years, fear. I could not see myself leaving my good government job, one, because of the benefit package that they kind of dangled in front of me. And I'm like, oh my goodness, how will I pay myself? How would I support while I am going through that process? But I did hear a story. I think it was in 2005. I heard a lady tell a testimony about how God literally pushed her into her purpose. And I just sat there in tears. And I remember going back to school, telling I was a school teacher during that process. And I told my principal that I was done. I was going to step out on faith and literally start my business. And that's what I decided to do.
Wow. So that was the breaking point for you.
The breaking point was the testimony.
Testimony.
Yes.
Sometimes it's just somebody else just giving you those little words of encouragement. You never know how you're impacting people.
You never know. And actually, she said that she had quit her good government job, just in case this inspires someone else. She was fired from her good government job. She had always sat behind her desk and just doodled and thought about what she wanted to do. But by her losing her job, it pushed her into her purpose.
Yeah.
And her testimony just resonated with me. And I said, enough is enough. It's been 18 years, and I decided to just jump out there and do it.
So you decided to jump out and start a business. Did you know anything about entrepreneurship when you got into this?
Nothing. I knew nothing. I literally learned everything on the fly, and it was not easy. I always tell people that I have the hardest job because we're taking care of God's most precious jewels, and I'm responsible for hiring those people to take care of our most precious jewels. And you know, Briana, you have 2 babies.
Yeah.
So you know how important it is.
Oh, yeah. No, the level of trust. And I have so much empathy for the women that are at that center because the parents that they have to deal with is probably harder than some of the children.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But it's serious business.
Yeah.
And I can remember those infancy stages just being so stressed out and overwhelmed because I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
But I joined the eWomen Network. It had to have been in 2014, 15. And I tell this story all the time to a lot of people. I remember Sandra speaking out into the audience. It was about 2,000 women. And I felt like she was talking to me. And she said, in order to be successful, you have to do only the things that make the cash register ring. And I have it still in my journal, and I have the exact date. And I just sat there and I said, how do I do this when I am the nurse, the doctor, the director, the tour guide, the cook, the person who's going to pick the children up from school? I just could not wrap my head around. How do I do only the things that make the cash register ring?
Yeah.
But guess what I decided to do? I thought about it, and I said, my onboarding process, how I hired people
Mm.
made the difference. Because prior to hearing that, I would hire people out of desperation and
Right.
panic. And that was the worst thing in the world I could do.
Mm.
But when I realized that I was going to put all of my time and energy in how I onboarded, that's what made me 3 million. Took me from 200,000, I pulled out the equity in my home, to a 3 million enterprise with one location because of the people I have served in my community. That's what changed everything for me.
Wow. So that one little nugget took you and made you say, okay, I can't be doing all of this myself. Who are the first people that you went to get on your team to help relieve you?
Well, it's a story. I had to look at the man in the mirror because it was me.
Mm.
I realized that I set the tone from day one, and everything rises and falls on leadership.
Yeah.
And once I realized that, my whole mindset changed. Everything changed. The first thing I changed was how I showed up. Most people, when they would walk into my school, they didn't know who the owner was because I blended in with them. My team at the time wore scrubs, and I was operating my business as if it was a mom and pop business. So we wore scrubs. And the first thing I did was change how I showed up. So every time I go to work now, I wear a suit.
Mm.
So I wanted to look and feel like I was operating $1 million business before we hit the $1 million mark. And I remember my CPA, who actually introduced me to Sandra. I remember she called me and said, when we hit the first million, she asked me, what did I do? She was like, what? How? Because I think we were like 600,000 and we jumped really fast.
Mm.
And I asked her, I said, well, do you see how much money I spent on professional development? It was at 6 figures at that time, and most of it was with the eWomen Network.
Yeah.
And she said, yeah. I said, I would do it again. I said, because that six figure got me to $1 million because of what I didn't know, investing in myself and in my team. I said I would do it again. And shortly after, we hit 2 million. And it was because of my mindset had changed.
Mm.
I was tired of robbing Peter to pay Paul. I was tired of operating out of lack versus abundance.
Yeah.
And once I decided in my mind that I wanted more for my team, I decided to continue to invest in myself, to put myself in rooms. And I remember going on retreat with Sandra. We had $1 million. I don't even think I was at $1 million in Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
And Laura
Herring. Yes.
Laura Herring pulled me to the side and she whispered some things to me in my ear, and I would never forget that. And what she whispered in my ear was, you need to start coaching and to make money in your sleep so you could teach other people what you've done. And I didn't even hit $1 million, but she heard my story and she felt my heart.
Mm.
And that stuck with me. And that's how I'm a coach right now, because she said to me, you need to tell your story and put it on auto, like set it up so you don't have to always talk to people. It doesn't have to be one-on-one.
Yeah.
And I listened to her.
Yeah. And that was the start of the personal brand journey.
That was the start.
That's crazy. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Good old Laura Herring,
Mm-hmm.
dropping gems. Look at you.
Yeah.
Wow. So if you could maybe go back and do one thing differently,
Mm-hmm.
is there anything you would change?
In the beginning, I think everything that I've gone through has made me the person I am. I think I needed to go through every experience, every pain, so I can share my story to other childcare owners and I can understand where they are because I've been there. So I don't necessarily think only thing I would say to someone is new into the industry is to hire a coach.
Yeah.
Because they can see your blind spots. And I didn't have a coach the first 8 years.
Mm.
I remember one day standing in my office and it was so much coming at me at once. And I literally had tears in my eyes. And this is before I wanted to be a coach. And I heard God say, how are you going to help other people if you don't know what it feels like to be stressed out or overwhelmed or at your wits end? And I just dried off my tears and I stood up straight and I was like, I got it. I understand. I got to take it. And so I just took notes. I wrote down all of my mistakes, and I vowed to my team and to God that I would never make the same mistake twice.
Yeah.
And so I changed those mistakes into policies and procedures. And if you follow me on social media, you would see that we are every time I turn around, we get an award for something. And I'm not even there. I'm absentee owner.
Wow.
So I have instilled in my team my vision. First of all, they need to know where I want to go, where we've been. I tell the story. And my goal is to be the best. And in order to be the best, you have to hire the best. So we have a whole onboarding process. It's called my 90-day onboarding systems, where people have to literally be vetted to be a teacher at my school. We don't hire out of desperation and panic. And every single person, we've been doing this for about maybe 10 years now.
Okay.
Every single person have to go through this process, 90 days, before they can get our logo shirts. They wear all black while they're going through the process, and everybody know they're training. And when they get to that 90-day, we celebrate them, because most people don't make it.
Wow.
They don't make it.
Wow. That's interesting.
And I'm okay with that.
Yeah. You don't want the wrong people
We
in
don't
there.
want the wrong people, because guess what? I want to continue to have my lifestyle where I can travel the world and do what I want to do.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you're drowning in your business? Like you're doing everything and something has to give, but you're afraid it might be you? What if I told you there's a network of over 500,000 women entrepreneurs, all dedicated to supporting each other? A network of women helping women. I'm Sandra Yancey, founder of eWomen Network, and I'm inviting you to join us and become a member. eWomenNetwork.com. We can't wait to meet you.
And I can't do that if I have the wrong people on my team, because I'm constantly talking to my director, putting out fires. I don't know half the time. I don't know half the things that's going on in the business, because the right people are in those seats and they take care of it.
Yeah. So you're like the epitome of working on the business and not in the business.
Yes, absolutely.
That's the dream right there.
Absolutely.
I feel like so many people aspire to get there, but they just don't know how. And you talked a little bit about having navigated some tough times and making processes and procedures. Is there any one tough time that jumps out at you that comes to mind where you were like, man, this is really hard and I don't know how I'm going to push through this?
Childcare is hard. We are responsible for everything. I tell my team all the time, anybody who walks in the building, we are responsible for. We watch the news all the time. Just hiring the wrong person. I mean, I hired a director over the phone.
Oh, wow.
So, yes, and it ended horribly. So just making sure we have the right people, because operating a childcare business is as I said earlier, it's the hardest job I've ever had. Hiring the wrong people has made me say many times that I'm done, because of the energy, because of the incidents that could happen, because of the reputation. When you hire the wrong person, it can just be a ripple effect. People want to talk about it in the community, and it just makes you feel like you don't want that liability. So it is very hard. So it's not easy. You just have to know that you are maintaining the wanting excellence to be your brand. I always tell people, make excellence your brand. When you make excellence your brand, everything that you do is going to shine.
Yeah, it's so true. You know, hiring people is probably one of the hardest things for
hard.
business owners. I run into it all the time. I have made some bad hires, and it's really, it's challenging. What would you say are like what's your top number one tip for the interview process? What's your number one maybe red flag or automatic no, or this is the number one thing that will get you disqualified from a job? What sticks out to you?
One is turning a blind eye when you see it. And a lot of times as business owners, we're so busy, and I'm talking to myself because this is how I used to be, that I didn't want to have to deal with what I saw. I just keep going as if I didn't see it.
Yeah.
I didn't know what I was looking for. Now we have a list. It's called my dream team. I know exactly what we're looking for. Not only me, my admin team, because they're the ones doing the interviewing now. We have a list of what we're looking for, because if you don't know what you're looking for, you're just going to hire anyone. We pay close attention to how the person shows up. We now have behavior questions. We now have them because of Sandra. I heard her say years ago that she have heard people do a writing sample. We now do a writing sample, and we allow them to come in twice prior to us hiring them to do work and observations. That has been a game changer because a lot of times people can interview very well. Their resume is polished, but when they come into those classrooms, we pay close attention to their energy. We listen to what they're talking about. We want to see how the children receive them. And we meet with the teachers and the person before on a second day to just get some feedback.
Yeah.
If it's not positive feedback from our team, we do not allow them to come back for the third interview.
That's so impressive. They say, hire slow and fire fast. And it's so much easier said than done. It's easy to get people in, particularly when you're coming out of that place that you were talking about earlier about hiring out of desperation. Oh my gosh, I need somebody. So you make that fast decision and then they're not a fit. And then you end up hanging on to them way too long. Way too long. Yes. And it costs you so much more in the long run.
It does. And in childcare, because we have to operate off of ratios, it's even worse. Because most businesses can figure it out. We can't figure it out. If we are missing a teacher in that classroom, we can't allow the parents to drop their children off. So we have to make sure we have the amount of people, this licensing regulation state that we should have in those classrooms. It makes it 10 times harder.
Oh, yeah.
10 times harder.
Wow. So you really take your time to make sure you're getting the right people in.
Absolutely.
I love that.
We do. And I can interview probably 15 people and only 1 or 2 people may fit. And we're okay with that because that's the process that we go through. And we celebrate them when they come in for an interview. We tell them, girl, you're number 10 or you're number 13. They laugh. We're like, yeah, it took us a lot to find you. So bring it on.
Yeah.
Let's see
what you got.
And they get excited to know that we took the time out to handpick them.
Yeah. That's really good too, that you kind of get them feeling. Yeah.
So in 2015, I lost a very close friend who worked closely with me. We were together since 2000 and he died suddenly. I had to I was away from my business for 6 months. I didn't talk to my director. I didn't step foot in my business for 6 months. And we had the best year ever. That's when we hit 3 million. And I celebrated my team when I decided to come back because it's them.
Yeah.
It's my vision, but it's the people who are in those classrooms every single day. It's my director who's selling my business. Wow. And we have to maintain that excellent status.
That's incredible. To have a business where your team loves you, loves your brand, loves what they're doing so much that not only do they keep the boat afloat, but they get speed.
They superseded my goal. I was like, when I saw my tax returns, I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh, y'all been rolling.
Oh, yeah. That's incredible.
And my director had raised the tuition while I was out. And she was like, just keep making sure we have the right people. She said, we're going to hit 4 million. I was like, with one location? She was like, I'm going to try.
Yeah, no, that's incredible. So yeah, no, you have a rock star team. So what is your process for onboarding people? Walk me through that a little bit. You said it's 90 days.
Okay. Yep.
So I want to know like a little bit more about how you get new employees onboarded and how you approach like the performance reviews that you were talking about.
Yes.
Tell me, pull back that card.
So the first thing we do is pre-qualify them over Zoom.
Okay.
Once we receive the resumes, we'll do a quick hello, how are you? Just to get a feel.
Vibe check.
Yes. So once they pass the pre-qualifications to see if we want to allow them to come in, they would go in and meet with the admin team, have an interview. It's always a team. It's not one person. That was one of the mistakes we made early on. One person would make all the decisions with hiring. So we have an admin team. It consists of 2 teachers and maybe 2 to 3 admin.
Oh, so you got like 4 to 5 people in there interviewing a candidate.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely.
I love this. Okay.
And so if they like the person, we invite them to come back for a work observation. It's for 2 days. During that observation period, they go into 2 different classrooms. It's from 10 to 2. and we tell them they wear all black. They get to meet the teacher. They're not counted in the ratio. We let them know we just want you to observe and get a feel for if it's something that you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
After the first and second day, we kind of ask them, how was the day? How do you feel? The second day, we talk with both the teachers and the candidate. And if everything pans out, they say, oh, we like her. Sometimes they say, no, she was in here gossiping, asking crazy questions about you or wanting to know about salary. They're not a good fit.
Yeah.
And so if we like them, we will offer them the job. We give them an offer letter. We also give them orientation that maps out our expectations. It includes who we are in the business, go over the benefit package, and they have to train in every classroom for a week.
Okay.
So we have enough people on our team when we hire. It's not necessarily out of desperation. They don't have to go straight into the classroom. Before, that's how we used to operate. So they take a test. They don't know any of the answers on the test. It's about 60 questions, and it's intentional because we want them to be able to talk to their peers and get the answers from them and read through our policies and procedures book. They take a test. They have to do a scavenger hunt. For so many years, we would hire people, put them in those classrooms. They didn't know where the bathrooms were. They didn't know where the exits were. They didn't know the director's name or the director's phone number. So they have a scavenger hunt. And then we have a series of things that they have to do on a 30, 60, and 90-day process. Every 30 days, they are evaluated. And this is just to see how they're doing, ask questions. And it's an informal piece of paper that's documented. 30 days, 60 days, 90 days evaluated. And during that evaluation period, they have goals and objectives, personal and professional. And let me say this. We don't play around when it comes to goals. We want to make sure if you want to go to school, if you want to buy a house, if you want to buy a car, it's our responsibility to track you and to support everything that you want to do in life. Because my philosophy is if you have everything you need, you're going to give my business everything we need. And I have a very special person to me who's about to graduate in May with her bachelor's degree, because on her paper when I hired her, she said she wanted to get her bachelor's degree. And we're about to celebrate her.
Oh, my God.
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
Yes.
That makes for a strong
it.
culture.
Yes.
Yeah.
My director said she wanted a house. Her house is bigger than mine.
Wow.
So it's important to know and track what your people want. I tell you, it's nothing they won't do from my business because I make sure they have everything they want, everything in my power. I want to make sure if you want your CDA, okay, what you doing? How you getting it done? One of my employees said that she wanted to save. She wanted me to help her with her budget. We saved $100 a pay period. So, and then another important thing that we do during that process is that for the first 20 days, they have to email their admin. They used to have to email me, but I'm out of that process. 2 things they learned and 3 questions they have. Three things they learned and 2 questions they have for the first 20 days. And when I see their emails, sometimes I get teary-eyed because I know those young ladies in those classrooms are teaching them 3 things they learned. Like, wow, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
And they can appreciate this process. They always say that they've never experienced anything like our 90-day onboarding process. And whenever we talk to any new person, they must come with a notebook and a pen. Write down everything we say. We're not going to keep repeating ourselves over and over. So they have their little portfolio walking around with all of their policies and procedures. And they also have to recite our vision statement by 90 days. They need to be able to know what the vision of the business is and why. Why are we doing what we're doing? What is the goal? And it's just something that it took me a long time to get to this place, but I'm literally free from the day-to-day operations. And I wasn't always like that. My business sent me to the hospital twice, to the emergency room, because I was so overwhelmed and stressed out because of the people I hired.
Wow. That's beautiful.
So that's the 90-day onboarding process
I love
that
that.
I teach. Literally, I teach that in my course.
Powerful. I mean, I can't imagine a single woman in your field who wouldn't be all over this, because even I'm taking notes. I'm not even in the childcare industry, and I'm like, okay,
Yes.
90-day onboarding. I mean, it's applicable to every
Everybody.
single business.
My pediatrician, she pulled me to the side and she was like, please teach me. And I taught her. I told her what to do.
Yeah.
Because I can see when I would go to her office, I'm like, why is she having this? Every time I tell her all these new people.
Yeah.
You're not doing something right. And she was like, please help me, please. And I shared with her how I value my team, one, and how we find them and where we find them. And once we find them, how do we get them into that fold? How do they believe in my vision?
Yeah. You talked about during this onboarding process that you have a good percentage of people that don't make it through that 90 days.
They don't.
So what does that performance review look like? How do you handle those conversations?
So every 30, 60, 90, remember I was telling you to get that informal.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's been times they get past that 90 days. We have admin team who's constantly moving around the building. They have their own checklist to make sure the team is doing what they're supposed to do. We don't have a problem with counseling them. We don't have a problem with writing them up, but we have policies and procedures in place. After the third time, this isn't the place for you. So we track it. During our counseling sessions, I don't want them to be so harsh. I was like, counseling, sometimes it just takes a conversation. But during that counseling session, they have to write, what are they going to do different? So it kind of sticks with them. It could be anything. The children have to be counted before we go outside and come back. And if the admin team is clocking and watching and say, oh, they didn't count the children. So it's a counseling session and explain to them the why behind it. What are you going to do next time? Yeah. And if they tend to forget, you can't keep forgetting too many times because it's your liability.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, no, mine would go missing. She'd go wandering off.
Yeah, children would go wandering off.
Yeah.
Right. So it's important for us to set the tone from day one and let them know that this is serious business, because one thing can happen in my business in seconds that can destroy everything.
Oh, yeah.
Everything.
Everything.
And that's always in my mind. I'm always doing risk management. Although I'm not working in my business, I'm thinking about what could happen and how we can make sure it don't happen.
Yeah.
All the time.
What keeps you up at night?
What used to keep me up at night? I'm pretty cool now. Staffing, in the middle of the night, people may call out because we have ratios. We have to manage, and you have to jump out your bed and you have the wrong person opening up your school. I've done it many, many times. My 6 weeks open from 6:30, 6:30. My 6:30 person may call me at 6:10. So that means I have to get to the school and open it up. So as an owner, everybody knows how that feels. You get that call at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. Oh, I'm not coming in. And that really, really can turn your day upside down, because you think you're going to work to do one thing, work on whatever, getting ready for a licensing visit, and you might be in the classroom.
Yeah.
Sitting on the floor with infants because you have the wrong people.
Wow.
Who are not following proper procedures will call out.
Yeah. That's hard.
Yeah.
That's really hard. Is there ever a moment where you were like, I don't know if I want to run this business anymore?
Heck yes. Many, many times. Yes, I have. I had an incident at my school where a teacher tapped a child. We saw it on camera.
Oh, like put their hand on a child?
Tap.
Wow.
Pop. And that liability, I was done. I was like, I can't do this.
Yeah.
Like, we've done everything in our power, and this person had been with me for many years. And the crazy part is the child's parent, they were from a different background, Middle Eastern.
Okay.
And they were both from the Middle Eastern. The mother, she came in the office and was just hollering and screaming, couldn't understand what did the teacher do wrong. She didn't do anything. She ended up pulling her child out. I had to call the police and licensing. I had to tell them myself, literally, because that's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
But the liability, and I had enough. I was like, I can't do this anymore. This is too stressful, because I can't really control what people do as much as I try to. And to watch the camera and see her do that, and the child didn't cry. The child went and started playing with his friends. But the whole point is that you tapped the child, somebody else's child.
Yeah.
And I had to tell it.
Yeah.
And I was done.
Yeah.
I was done. I was like, I can't.
That's hard.
This is scary.
Yeah. So how did you decide to keep going?
I'm resilient. Most business owners are resilient. I prayed. I thought about where we have already been. Like, okay, it's okay. This too shall pass. We were on probation after never ever being in trouble in so many years. Licensing didn't care. They didn't care that I self-reported it. So we just got through it.
Yeah.
We just got through it, and we're still the best.
Yes.
We actually licensing. When they wrote up the report, it was a different person from our license specialist. When she came in, she gave us our kudos. She was like, "These girls got it going on." She was talking about myself and my director because I had to be there with her. And she said, "I'm so amazed at how clean the school is. Although this happened, it's unfortunate, but I can tell that they have it together."
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's a compliment.
but yeah, and we went to licensing and we sat with the supervisor and we were like, "This is what happened, and this is the video. This is my business. This is the integrity. This is we thought we were gonna get some kudos by doing it." But she was like, "Oh, Ms. Allen, you're responsible for everybody who walks through your building." And I had tears in my eyes. I said, "I know I am, but this is what happened, and I can't take it back, and I'm not going to shield it because you need to know, and it would get worse if I covered it up."
Yeah.
But yeah, at that point, I was like, done.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't want this anymore. But then, it's part of my story. I tell that story to other childcare owners who I coach, and they looking at me like, "I can't believe you go through that." And I'm like, "I'm just like you."
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So that sticks out.
Yeah. No, that's hard.
Yeah.
But you just kept going.
I just kept going.
Yeah.
And I thought about all that we've gone through. Like, it's okay. It's part of the process. I have insurance for a reason.
Yeah.
And you know what? And when I think about that teacher who did it, the teacher was, we probably should have kept our eyes on her because she was very rigid with preschoolers. Like, if you go into her room, everything was so structured. She was like the grandma of the school. And when I reflect on her, I told my director, I said, we probably shouldn't have had her in that room because she was so rigid with those babies. And it was not, the little boy didn't do anything. I mean, it was something, she was like a grandma to him. Like, "Boy, anybody tell you to do that, Papa?" But you can't do that.
Yeah,
but we saw some of the signs, and I take full responsibility as the owner.
Yeah. No, that's powerful. So powerful. So now you take all of that wisdom and you've started a personal brand. Now you're coaching other childcare owners on how to build a multi-million-dollar childcare center like you have.
Yes.
And you're able to travel with your husband and go to all these amazing places and doing your coaching. So talk to me a little bit about, you told the story of kind of getting the whisper to start your own personal brand. Did you immediately march forward with that, or did you sit on that for a little while?
I didn't start coaching until 2019. It was around COVID time,
Okay.
2019. So that was some time prior. It was a few years.
Okay.
And not only did she put that bird in my ear, a little whisper in my ear, my licensing specialist saw some changes as well. When she would come, she would see my staff was stabilized. Before, it was a revolving door, and she was like, "Oh, your staff I love your staff. They're different." And she said, "You need to start documenting what you're doing." And I had already started thinking about it because of what Laura told me, but I didn't start documenting everything.
Yeah.
And she was like, "Other childcare owners need to see, because this is not normal to have people working for you for 5 years, 6 years in childcare.
Yeah.
They only leave in 6 months to a year."
No, I mean,
Yeah. And I'm about,
I know.
childcare.
Yes.
So I have staff, actually in May, we're celebrating 4 staff that's been with me for 10, and then 2 of them been with me for 18 years. So,
Wow.
yeah. And so I just started documenting everything, and I just share what I've done through that process with my coaching program.
So you started the childcare business after documenting, and now you've helped how many childcare owners scale their childcare centers?
I've helped hundreds. I made a lot of money through my coaching program, and my heart is sharing my story with other childcare owners. So I'm in the process now of a succession plan. Hopefully within the next 2 years, I'm able to transition to fully coaching other clients and just pass the torch to someone else.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Congratulations. You've had such a successful journey. I have one more question that I want to ask you before we wrap this up. Who did you need to become to get to this level? How did you fundamentally change as a person to go from government job to childcare center owner to multi-million-dollar childcare center owner to coach? I mean, that's a huge evolution, not only in your trajectory of your business but your identity as a woman.
Yes.
So what has changed in you?
I had to believe it was possible to run a successful childcare center because I was always told that there was not any money in childcare or teaching. I was a school teacher for 10 years, remember? And because that was my mindset, I operated my business as it was a mom and pop. I literally did not know that I can pay myself whatever I want to pay myself because I'm the owner. When I first started, I was paying my team $5.25 an hour, and I didn't pay myself anything because my business wasn't valuable enough to raise the tuition. Listening to people like Les Brown, listening to Oprah Winfrey, Sandra Yancey, motivational speakers, and other people who have been successful is what made me know that if they can do it, so can I. Yeah. It was just I had to do a shift in my mindset. I had to know that my goal was to change the trajectory of childcare because everybody back when I started, childcare was like a babysitting service. Yeah. The teachers were young, popping in gum, wanting to be on their cell phones. They would wear anything. And I was like, no, this is a business. And I learned that this business at that time was bringing in $60 billion. I didn't know that.
Wow.
My mentor told me to go read the IBIS report and the E-Myth by Michael Gerber.
Oh, yeah, those are good.
Yes. And when I read the IBIS report, because I was so stressed out when I went to see him, and he was like, girl, just go read the IBIS report. And I didn't even know what that was. And I said, $60 billion? And I'm sitting here paying myself $5.25 an hour. So I remember one day, I'm gonna wrap it up. When I found out this business brought in $60 billion, I went back to my school. We sat on the floor during nap time, and I went around in a circle and I explained to everyone what I had learned. I said, we have the foundation. I asked them, I said, have you ever watched an infomercial in the middle of the night and you said, I can do that? And they were like, yeah. I said, we have the foundation. We have the foundation. What do you all think we need to do to make more money? And I remember Aisha, she had been with me at the time for a few years, and she said, it's you, Miss. I was Ball then. She was like, it's you, Miss Ball. And I was like, oh my God, it is me. And so that's when I decided to change my mind. And I went around and I asked everybody what did they want, because I wanted to put it in their mind. We can make more money. Y'all making $5.25 an hour. That's nothing. And so that's when my director said she wanted to buy a house. Robin said she wanted to put her children in private school. I wanted a Range Rover and a convertible.
Yes.
And we just went around and everybody shared their story. And I said, okay, we put in the work. We have to become valuable. I explained to them that you might have to go back to school and get your CDA and maybe some degrees. And everything just started to change.
Wow.
Literally.
Just having the vision.
Me walking in with a suit on literally changed my mindset on how I operated my business. And I wish I could show you a picture of me sitting on the floor with scrubs on, playing with a toddler. You would say, is she the owner?
Yeah.
Literally. I said, nope, I want to operate my business as if it's $1 million. And to hit $3 million in 2025 is unheard of. I've not met not one childcare owner with one location, maybe 2 or 3. But one location, and it's because of the value that we provide to the community based off of those people in the classrooms, and then the services, and then making sure we're constantly revolving, doing things, trying to make sure we have the best practices and staying accredited and being a level 5 school. All of that stuff plays a part.
So powerful. It really
Yes.
does start with you.
It
and the
starts with me.
decision, right?
Yes, everything rises and falls on leadership, and I set the tone from day one. When people walk into my business, it can be a parent, it can be a teacher, it's the admin team, myself. We set the tone for how people receive us.
Yeah. So good. Wow, this has been such a powerful conversation. So many nuggets that I'm taking away. I know every single business owner, regardless of if you're in childcare or not,
business is
can take
business.
away. Business is business. And she does not just mean business, she means millions.
Yes, thank you, Briana.